Is Peru safe? In this video, not only am I going to answer that question, but I'm also going to give you 5 practical tips and strategies that I use to stay safe while traveling all over Peru. Also, stick around to the end because I'll be sharing a tip that will keep you from getting scammed at the Lima airport. So, is Peru safe? This obviously depends on your definition of safe, where you go in Peru, and most importantly, your own habits. Do you have to be worried about getting robbed in broad daylight in Miraflores? Absolutely not. Is it safe, however, for you to be drunk, alone, and out at night on the streets of Callao? Not in a million years. Overall though, I wouldn't turn anyone away from traveling to Peru solely on the basis of safety. Peru should be on your travel bucket list. It's home to a world wonder, a rainbow-colored mountain, and in my opinion, some of the best food on earth. That being said, you still need to be careful, so here are the 5 safety tips I would give to anyone traveling to Peru. Starting off with number 1, the big one. Drunk, alone, and out at night. You only get to pick one. My advice personally is that you should never be drunk. However, if you have to get intoxicated while you're in Peru, make sure you're not out drunk while you're alone out at night. You're only making yourself a target for mugging, theft, or worse if you do that. Before I left for Peru, I spoke with a woman who is a case manager who handles all kinds of crimes that happen against American students studying abroad in Latin America. She told me that over 90% of her incidents involve a student being drunk at night. So if my math is correct, that means not being drunk out at night reduces your chances of something bad happening by over 90%. To summarize, if you're drunk, don't be alone or out at night. If you're alone, don't be out at night or drunk. And if you're out at night, don't be drunk or alone. Now on to tip number 2. Listen. If someone says, especially a local says, don't go to an area, do not go to that area. Sometimes, especially if you're a young man like myself, we tend to overestimate our abilities to get ourselves out of bad situations. Someone might warn us to not go to an area and we think, oh, I'm a young athletic guy, no one's gonna mess with me. Ignorance kills. Or at least gets travelers into a lot of trouble. If someone tells you not to go to an area, do not go to that area. If someone says don't go to an area alone or don't go without a local, just heed that advice. More broadly, if your country's embassy suggests you not go to an area, I would take that advice from them. Be sure to check your embassy's or your State Department's website for travel advisories and different suggestions. Number 3 is going to be invest in a fanny pack. Let me explain. Pickpocketing is an extremely common crime in Peru and Latin America as a whole. Because of years of practice, pickpockets have developed advanced techniques to get your phone out of your pocket and into theirs. My brother learned this the hard way, unfortunately, when traveling to Peru. We were walking through a busy market with our phones and wallets in our pockets. We knew there were going to be pickpockets in this market, so we were actually keeping our hands on our belongings, thinking that would stop them. All of a sudden, my brother's walking and he feels an itch on the back of his head. So of course, naturally, he takes his hand out of his pocket, scratches it. Whenever he puts his hand back in his pocket, they had taken his phone. Turns out we looked at his hair. They had put flour or some kind of grain in his hair to get him to take his hand out of his pocket. They're that creative, people. Before we even realized what happened, the thief had disappeared into the huge crowd. When we went to the police station to report the crime, the officer literally told us, no way they got y'all gringos with the old flour trick. So don't get pickpocketed, wear a fanny pack, and don't get got by the old flour trick. No one's gonna give you any sympathy if you get your phone stolen down there. This is where the fanny pack comes in. Putting as many layers as possible in between your belongings and a pickpocket's hand is key. The fanny pack zips up, you can wear it around your waist or keep it on the front of you, which I suggest, that way you can keep an eye on it. Bonus points if you can get one of those low profile fanny packs that you can put under your shirt. The more layers of clothing, zippers, etc. you can put between a pickpocket's hand and your phone or wallet, the better. Safety tip number 4 is going to be do not wear headphones out in public. This is a pretty easy one to remember because if you do, normally a local will stop you and tell you to take them out. Why can you not wear headphones in public? Well, it just makes you less aware of your surroundings and makes you an easier target for muggings or theft. Also, it's important to note that people drive pretty crazy in Peru, so I personally just like to be aware of what cars are coming, and I can hear a car coming at least if I need to duck out of the way. Lastly, if you do choose to travel to Peru, you're gonna find yourself using a taxi or an Uber at some point. Here's a few tips for staying safe when catching a ride. First, if you can share a ride with someone else, do so. Not only is this gonna cut your transportation cost in half, but it's gonna make you much harder to kidnap. Secondly, if you're riding alone, make sure you sit in the front seat. This just makes it easier for you to keep an eye on what the driver's hands are doing. And lastly, pull up your destination on Google Maps or Waze. That way you can at least have a rough idea of whether the driver is taking you in the right direction or not. It's not always going to be accurate because the drivers there do know some shortcuts, but it's a good idea just to keep an eye on it. Now on to some really important information that will save you from scammers outside the Lima airport. After you land in Lima and hail an Uber to take you to your accommodation, make sure you wait inside the airport. The Lima airport has security that keeps con men from coming inside the airport. Unfortunately, however, once you leave the airport, you're fair game. These guys will try every trick in the book to try to get you to miss your Uber and take their taxi. When my brother and I first landed in Lima, we were waiting outside for our Uber when we were approached by a very professional looking taxi driver. He had a white button down and a security badge he was very proud of, and he told us, "Oh, I'll take you to the Uber lot." We had never heard of this Uber lot. We assumed that Uber would just come and get us at the airport. So we started walking with this guy, and we walked and we walked and we walked, and eventually we did miss our Uber because there was no Uber lot. Fortunately though, he offered to take us to our accommodation for 3 times the price. That's when we realized what the scam is. These taxi drivers wait outside the airport, they offer to take you to your Uber because it's in a different lot, and then once you miss your ride, they step in to offer you a ride. We ended up just going back in the airport and booking a different Uber, and this time waiting inside the airport until the Uber, of course, pulled up to the front. If you don't want to mess with Uber, you can just book a taxi inside the airport. These taxis are certainly more legitimate, but you are going to pay a little bit of a premium. To summarize, I wouldn't tell anyone to not visit Peru on the grounds of safety alone. Peru is an absolutely amazing country, and you'd really be missing out if you passed up on Peru just because of safety concerns. Of course, nowhere on Earth is 100% safe, but if you follow some of these tips and be aware of your surroundings, you'll greatly reduce the chance of something happening to you. I hope this video helps some of you learn some new strategies for staying safe. If I missed anything or if you have any tips to give me, be sure to leave them in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.